Namaskar. Tell me, why do people suffer? What is this? What is our need for suffering? Why do we need to suffer? How can we be happy? At the superficial analysis, you will understand that we suffer when we lack something. Like, for example, there is a tree, there is a plant in your pot, in your house, and then suddenly you see that all the leaves, they're like this of the plant, and you understand that something is missing. Maybe water is missing, maybe some nutrients, maybe some fertilizer is missing. So if you know the plant, you will give that to the plant, and the plant will be happy again, radiating, shining. So human beings also, we have physical needs, we have mental needs, psychic needs, we need spiritual needs also. But also the suffering and non-suffering, pain and non-pain, they are connected with the state of mind. In the yoga philosophy by Patanjali, there is this idea of klista and aklista vrittis. Vritti means modifications of the mind. Vrit, Sanskrit root, which expresses the movement, rotation. So vritti is the energetic whirlpools within the mind, the rotating energy structures within our mind. And those whirlpools, they create vibration within the mind, which we experience as love, as anger, as pain, as pleasure, and so on and so on. So there are three portions of the mind. One is called Mahatattva, existential I. I exist. I exist. I am. That amness, that existentiality is this Mahatattva. Then there is Aham Tattva, the feeling of doership. I see, I think, I do, I enjoy, I suffer. So that is the existentiality, not existentiality, that's the doership. And then there is dawn I. I have done. So the portion of your I which takes the form of an object, and that object is being enjoyed by the doership option of your doership portion of your mind. For example, please imagine now a giraffe, a beautiful giraffe with a beautiful decoration, beautiful pattern on his neck. So imagine that giraffe. Now imagine an elephant. Now imagine a pink elephant. Now imagine a blue elephant. So what happens? There are transformations of the mind. So where does this giraffe exist? It's not in your room, not anywhere. I'm just talking about giraffe, but you are seeing the giraffe with your mental eye. Then I say, okay, now you see the elephant. Where did the giraffe go? It somehow got absorbed by your mind. It has been emanated. And then it was absorbed, it was withdrawn back into yourself. So that portion of the mind which takes a form of an object is called chitta, or objective I, objectivated I. So chitta exists because the objects exist. For the mind to exist, there has to be always some objects. So what are the objects? Objects, external, giraffe, elephant, a tree, a chair, so many objects are there. Mental objects, your thoughts, your imaginations. Another mental objects, feelings, instincts, emotions. So all those are objects of the mind. And they constitute your objective portion of the mind. And when my mind For these objects, for these vrittis and different thoughts, my guru, Sri Shanandamurti, he describes it as a abhoga. Abhoga means, is a Sanskrit word. It means pabulum. Pabulum is a Latin word. It means food, food of the mind. Why it is called food of the mind? You know, like for the body, when we eat food, that food becomes our body, right? Therefore, it is called food. And the body in the yogic parlance, in the yogic language, it is called Annamaya Kosha. The layer of existence which is made of food. So this is actually food, transformed food. I have eaten bread, so this bread has become me now. Similarly, the mind also consists of the consumed objects, the food of the mind. So the constitution of the mind depends on the emotions you have experienced and you are experiencing. The constitution of the mind depends on objects that you are seeing, you are hearing, you are reading. That's why we have to be very careful. After reading the book, I transform myself. It will always be there, in me forever. It brings a new ingredients within the mind. So, Patanjali describes klistavritti and aklistavritti. So klistavritti means painful expressions of the mind, which brings the mind into the state of inertia, state of staticity, gives the static quality to the mind. And there is also aklistavritti. Aklista means non-pain, not painful vrittis. Klista, aklista. And then there are also modifications like klista, klistavritti. It means when you are experiencing that vritti, it gives you pain. And as the result of the work of that vritti, there will be also pain. It means it will leave the mark in the mind. And the mind will enter into the state which constantly generates pain. There is another. It's called aklista klista. It means in the process of experiencing the vritti, you don't feel pain. But as the result, it produces in mind a painful condition. Then there is klista aklista. It means there is a pain in the process, but there is no pain, no suffering as the result. Like for example, discipline. Discipline is klista aklista. It gives you pain in the beginning, like wake up early, oh no, it's very painful, I don't want. But as the result, you experience happiness. And then there is aklista aklista. It means in the process, it doesn't give you pain. And as a result, also it gives you relief from suffering. Like for example, singing mantra, singing kirtan, it gives you happiness in the process. And the effect on the mind is also no pain. It removes rather pain. So, replacement, why is suffering? Why is there suffering? There are three modifications of energy of the nature. Tamaguna, static energy. Rajaguna, mutative energy. The energy which constantly modifies, changes the state. Movement, energy of the movement. And then sattva. Sattva means the goodness, the sentience, the happiness. So these three energies are there. So the mind can be in three modifications, this objective mind. It can be static, tamaguni, inertia dominates. It can be mutative, it moves. Sometimes it becomes very high, very happy. Then next day it goes down. It becomes very unhappy, very depressed. That's called Rajaguna, movement, constant modification, no peace in the mind. And then Sattva. Sattva means constant happiness, So normally human beings, they are in the state of static condition of the mind, in the state of inertia, due to the vrittis that they are experiencing. Like they are dwelling constantly on the material objects. And those material objects, as you think, so you become. They make the mind very crude, very dense, not subtle. So the mind becomes like that. So that mind, which is in a state of staticity, it constantly generates suffering. Even though there is no situation for suffering, you still suffer. And if there is no situation, you will create situation. If there is no conflict, you will create the conflict and then go on suffering, because the mind has become accustomed to that type of energy and seeks for the situations of suffering. So the way out is, one is Rajaguna, to engage the mind, to bring it out of the state of inertia, the state of staticity. It means you will have the goal of life. You don't live without plan, without strategy, without setting targets for yourself. So in that way, when the mind starts to think of something constructive, move in that flow, it becomes activated and it becomes cured of this perpetual suffering. It will go sometimes high, sometimes down. It will go into the state of Rajaguna. So you replace the pure Klista Vritti with the Vritti which is like sometimes Klista, sometimes Aklista. So the minds. So it's very important to engage, like it was my observation, like when the person is working all the time and then out of your goodness you decide to liberate him from that hard work and then you delegate that work to some other. Or maybe this person will be studying, maybe he will be doing more meditation, more self-development. And then suddenly without work that person becomes so unhappy, so toxic inside. And I have seen, like even the very outstanding personalities have become very toxic because they stop that movement. They stop achieving, they stop moving towards the target, they stop moving towards the goal. So once the movement is not there, the mind returns into the state of inertia. So if you want to be happy, be active. Be active physically and mentally also. Constantly think, constantly plan, constantly strive to achievement of something, which is called Rajaguna state. And then Sattvaguna, slowly you replace the tamasic stance of the mind, the static stance of the mind, you replace with Rajasic stance of the mind. Then next, you need to replace Rajasic with sentient. Sentient is sentient vrittis, the sattvic vrittis, the subtle vrittis. They are the spiritual practice, basically. So you do yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharan, dhyana, samadhi, all those things you do. You maintain that, which is called abhyasa. Abhyasa means continuous effort to be in the spiritual practice. You create that vibration, the sentient vibration, that pure, subtle, happy vibration within your mind. With that vibration, that's the food of the mind. Bhava. Bhava means pure state of the mind, flowing with purity and happiness. You maintain that food constantly, so the mind starts to slowly rebuild itself. It rebuilds, it rebuilds, it rebuilds, it becomes happy. And then it's just like, I used to have a friend. He will wake up in the morning so angry. I will ask him, Kostya, why you are so angry? Until lunch he's so angry, it's terrible. State of mind. State of mind. But once you transform the mind into sattva, then whatever conditions are, you feel just happy. Doesn't matter. Like sometimes, some countries are poor, people are poor, but the mind is happy. Mind is pure. Sometimes people are rich. We think, because I told in the superficial analysis, if I'm feeling unhappy, it means I'm lacking something. Something is not enough. So maybe if I get more money, I will be more happy. Maybe, but maybe not. Because it is the state of the mind. Once your mind achieves happiness, it will be happy. With money, without money, with wealth, without wealth, it will be happy all that time. And the joy is energy. In that stance, you have much more energy comparing with the stance of unhappiness, right? When you are in the state of joy, you can do everything. When you are in the state of pain, you cannot do much. So it is very in our interest, it must be to reach that state. Yeah, so many things can be said about it actually. Like even food, food gives energy to body. But there is also energy to the mind. Like if you eat the food, you fill up your body, but the food is not tasty. Your mind didn't get food. Your mind didn't get joyful emotions. That kind of food is harmful. You have to eat tasty food. The food must be tasty. It must give you feeling of joy, feeling of happiness. Then it will transform the mind. So the goal is to constantly engage the mind with something joyful. And that is, a spiritual practice is most important, is fundamental. When you start doing spiritual practice, you already start transforming the mind into the state of happiness. It will be just beautiful, just shining, just resplendent mind of yours. And then also service. Engaging the mind in helping others. When you think about it all the time, how I can serve humanity? Today, what should I do to serve humanity? How I can help to smoothen the path of evolution for the humankind? What I can do for humanity? What I can do for my near and dear? What I can do for my far and far? What I can do? Once you start to think, once you start to plan, once you start to develop a project that serves the world, then you become positive. And that positivity, you don't need any reward for the service. This very positivity is the reward. It's already much more. Because by serving others, you become happy. What else you want? People think that, if I do service, then I will serve for others. What about myself? Yes, what about yourself? When serving others, you transform from static, from unhappiness to happiness. What else you need? If you are happy, what else you need? So it is very much in the interest of everyone to start spiritual practice. Start today, not tomorrow. Today you're inspired. Tomorrow you may be not inspired. Start today. Enjoy. Watch our meditation steps. Get the inspiration and meditate. Meditate like God. With really enjoying divinity. Really transforming your mind into effulgence. And then it will be very good for you and very, very good for others. So, if you like this video, please do some service also and click the like button and and share it with others, and also write in the comments whether this makes sense or not, this idea that I'm explaining to you. This idea is actually based on the yoga philosophy and the structure of the mind. So thank you very much and namaskar.